The horror genre is a form of escapism for those of us who enjoy the feeling of being terrified. It's been a long time since I've been truly frightened, but I can appreciate a good jump scare or two. Even though we've seen the same played-out stories of demon spirits, ghosts, and haunted houses, somehow they still manage to frighten most people with their visual imagery and sound. More so if they're executed the right way. The Conjuring was released in the summer of 2013 and directed by James Wan, who's also directed films like Insidious, Saw, and Dead Silence. How exactly does horror work, and how did The Conjuring use its mise-en-scène, that is, its lighting, framing, camera angles, to frighten audiences? Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, is our guy for the subject. The uncanny undoubtedly belongs to all that is terrible, to all that arouses dread and creeping horror. It is equally certain, too, that the word is not always used in a clearly definable sense, so that it tends to coincide with whatever excites dread. But if this still doesn't make sense to you, I'll let extra credits from YouTube give you an easier explanation to follow.
The uncanny is that sickly, creeping sense that something is wrong. It's this feeling that you can't shake, that gets under your skin. You can't put your finger on it, but something is out of place, or not quite right. You ever wonder why a flickering light in an otherwise normal scene makes it so much more ominous? It's not even about fear of the dark. We get this sense even when we see a flickering light in an otherwise well-lit scene. And it's not just the irritation of something flashing on and off either. Otherwise, we'd just be feeling annoyed rather than unsettled. It's the fact that it doesn't belong there. Our brains understand what a normal house or a hallway looks like because we see them every day. On some subconscious level, we know that the flickering light is wrong somehow. Any well-maintained place wouldn't have such a thing. Thus, it makes us tense. It makes us feel like something is wrong in this room, and it makes us look for whatever else might be wrong. It sets up that anticipation that horror pieces so desperately need before they throw the main scare at you.
So the same reason that the flickering light has an eerie feel to it is the same reason this scenario disturbs us. We have a wind chime, a porch swing, sheets, but regardless of how normal all these things are, it's inevitable to feel uneasy because that's the whole point. These close-up shots are just the build-up to then give us this startling white. Since most of us are afraid of the dark, or at least what could be hiding there, it's no surprise that most horror films use low-key lighting throughout. Low-key is a term that refers to scenes with a high lighting ratio, which means there's lots of shadowy areas. It creates more tension for the viewer, and is therefore strongly associated with the horror genre.
Nancy. What are you doing? Christine? Are you alright? Do you see it? See what? There's someone behind the door. What? There's someone standing over there. I don't see anyone. It's looking right at us. Nancy, don't. Nancy, no, look. Look, there's no one here. See? Ugh, it's that smell again. Oh my God. It's standing right behind you.
This scene has minimal lighting. In fact, the only light is coming from the moon outside and the hallway. What's interesting though is that we as viewers don't get to see what the little girl sees. We're subject to our own imagination about what could be in that dark corner, and it's therefore much more effective than if the director had revealed to us some sort of physical embodiment of her fear. This next scene is, in my opinion, probably one of the best sequences of the whole movie because it not only plays with camera movement, but also with codes. The syntax of film. It's very important to how fear is instilled into viewers. Film critic James Monaco suggests that the structure of cinema is defined by the codes in which it operates, and the codes that operate within it. Codes are critical construction systems of logical relationship. We all know the game of hide and seek. In fact, it's played quite often in the film before this scene. The camera, however, decides to this time engage us onto the screen, almost like we're in the scenes playing too. We get a tracking shot from behind the character, so we see everything as she is seeing it. And then we do a complete switch to what looks like a POV shot for whatever it is that's looking at her from the dark. Then back to her, and then back again. It almost feels like we're the ones hiding and looking. And this is basically how the rest of the scene plays out before us. In this last scene, we have the traditional horror movie trope, the jump scare. The low-key lighting is more obvious here as he moves through the kitchen, to the hallway, and then into the dark room. This is also one of the shakier camera shots, like in the scene before, where it's as though someone is watching the character. The wide shot that follows draws our attention to the center, so we see the dead woman before he does. Most jump scares have a similar setup and then immediately give us the scare, but this is something I've seen James Wan do before. He lets us see this scary entity head on first, and then have it startle us. It's therefore less expected when it does. The ghost will exit the frame to the right, and that is where attention is drawn and where the character follows, and then it will re-enter the frame from the left, giving both the character and the viewers the scare they saw coming, but didn't expect.
What she made me do.
Hey. Ed?
Look what she made me do!
So thanks to Freud, the power of mise-en-scène, and the language of film, or syntax, we can understand why horror films make us want to turn on all the lights after we watch them. We know the demons and ghosts aren't actually going to jump out at us, but our brains like to tell us otherwise.